My name's Chris, and I'm here to talk to you about things. And I'm with Jim McCormick, who is also going to talk about things and also fireworks. Hi, Jim.
Hello. That's real, by the way. Just believe in your little heart. That's real.
That's Eagles. That's Eagles. An Eagles victory will do that to your Skype. We're not using Bungle Do today. We're using Skype to capture our visages, and they're literal fireworks appearing in Jim's half of the screen. We're here to talk about the divisional round of the playoffs. We're live streaming for folks who want to look at us on YouTube, which is awesome. We're also saving the live stream, and people who want to watch us after not live streaming, welcome and thank you, and I hope you enjoy the show. And then people listening on the podcast, you're also getting this in the feed. And our goal here is to talk about what happened in the wildcard round a little bit, and then also to talk about how we think these 4 games are going to go this weekend, make some picks against the spread, and just generally talk football. Want to thank DraftKings. I will do that more formally in just a little bit, but DraftKings is the entity that makes this possible, and we do thank them for that. I want to thank producer Dave for being here. You can't hear his voice, but he's cackling right now because the Browns are doing dumb things, probably, I assume. So, Jim, we are here to talk about these 4 games, but along the way, I'm also going to ask you your impression of the wild card round, which, in terms of prognostication, neither you nor I did a particularly good job.
It was look. I'm teaching adjectives. It was wild. All right, it lived up to it. All right.
Well, it was wild in that there was one good game out of 6.
Yes, and unpredictable otherwise, but yeah, certainly the Buccaneers Commanders game delivered. The rest, when I get something wrong, it's wrong. So,
I mean, me too. It was a hard week. Made to feel very dumb by Sam Darnold, and made to feel sort of. Maybe I'd say the same about Justin Herbert. I'm going to ask you more about Justin Herbert in a second, but let me catch up with the people who are here in the chat right on the stroke of 8 p.m. Eastern. Greg is here. He was first in, and Greg is so cool, and he is in the fishbowl, and he helps run stuff there, and he's so supportive of us and this show and everything. I just got to shout out Greg in particular. Victor was bragging today on Blue Sky, saying, I'll be there, and I gave him a let's go. We have Guillaume is here, and Jaquan, and Max, and Daniel, and Justin. Very, very pleased to have you all here. Mohal, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And yeah, it's awesome to have you all here. I'm sure we'll get more visitors as we proceed. We're going to do 5 minutes of fantasy at some point, partway through the show, and ask you your questions. And for the moment, let's take these games in chronological order. We'll start Saturday. It's the obligatory Texans Saturday afternoon game, in which they're actually really good. They usually cover and they usually win, to be honest. But they're visiting Kansas City, and I don't know about the cover part, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to win. Yeah,
they do have like the NFL Network-y vibe, of wild card weekend. Not that it's an insult. It's just like go over here and play here. But I suppose we discussed it, but I wish I just said it a lot more and thought about it a lot more and actually said it out loud and applied it to my reasoning. The fact that the Houston pass rush is real, and it showed up big time, and the pass defense looks super, super good. And I suppose I'm allowed to change my opinion, and now
well, you could probably argue these are the 2 best defenses left in the playoffs.
There are 2 of them for sure. I think comprehensively, like the Eagles are still young. I think these guys all have like prime dudes who know what they're doing. So I would say, if you gave me a game, I would take these rosters and these philosophies too.
And we could talk a little about the Texans because they're the ones who had to play to get here. The first half of that game, I think everyone watching Chargers Texans felt like, at least we knew something. we got this right. The Chargers score a touchdown right away. They get down. They get a turnover to get down in close again and get stopped. They kick a field goal. And it's 10-0, and you feel like, okay, this is on the way. And they had 4 more chances to score more points in that first half. Probably they easily could have put that game away early, and didn't. And then a lot of what you said about the Houston defense came true. Probably some of what this show has been saying about Justin Herbert for a while also came true. Maybe let's be charitable and talk about how the Houston offense turned it around and legitimately played pretty well in the second half and turned it into kind of a laugher with a lot of help from Justin Herbert. But did you see enough from Houston's offense that only has a pretty limited number of playmakers and a pretty hard time pass blocking? Did you learn enough to feel like, yes, that gives me something to hang my hat on offensively for Houston going into the Chiefs game?
Yeah, there's something. Yeah, that's tough because that was a good harum. Let me think about that. That was like I have a pipe now to take out. I cut my beard off, but in any case, yeah. I suppose it does give me more. I mean, it's just like you said, it's real top heavy. It feels like the Chargers, I guess, were there more smoke and mirrors defense throughout the season. You know, the Jesse Minter thing, because it was really the same batch of players, and they didn't show up in a way that maybe I thought they would. Shame on me for believing in the Chargers, but the real thing being that they do have a formula where it's like, let's give these two guys the ball, which is it works, and also Stroud looks more on time to me. Just he doesn't look as, I don't know, Darnoldy. He never looked Darnoldy, but he did look like he was waiting for something to happen before, and now I think he knows that, like, let's throw it into trouble if we have to, if it's Nico. So.
Yeah, the difference between the first half and the second half in this game, because to start the game, it's exactly what he did. I mean,
right, yeah.
But I'll give him some credit. I kind of do think, though, it's hard to separate Houston winning that game from the Chargers losing it.
Falling apart, unforced errors, yeah.
And Herbert in particular. We were talking before we hit the record button with Dave and you and me, and I said this on social media too, as it was kind of going on. Like, we all remember Josh Allen getting impossible amounts of crap from all of us for in year 2 looking like a bust.
Yeah.
And coming into year 3, everybody was like, yeah, this guy is not real. They need to be thinking about another dude. And then he turns it around in year 3, he's good. And that's like, okay, it's possible. We just went through year 5 with Justin Herbert. Year 5. Yeah. He's not a baby anymore. And it's an unprecedented excuse-making industrial complex for Justin Herbert, where it's never his fault. It's the offensive philosophy and the play calling and the offensive line and the receivers aren't good. And there's some truth to all of that. But I'm telling you, even after that game where he threw 4 interceptions and looked like utter garbage, especially in the second half, there were people on social media still going, he got like 4 drops from his receivers. What do you expect him to do? It's like, I guess, I don't know. Like, man, it feels to me like this is maybe a reckoning that's been coming for Justin Herbert.
Yeah, there really hasn't been a referendum. There's been a lot of ways, like, to get around it. Whether it was like lost Keenan Allen seasons or just beautiful hair, or like seriously, or it was, outside of like a couple, I guess, like impressive early press conferences, like the coaching regime basically exposed itself. The last few times we've had coaches there, right? It's the collective football public. But I guess the thing is like, I also don't remember season 5 of Baywatch. Like, meaning, like, they're just out there with sandy hair and waves going 9-7 every year. Meaning, I hear you. Like, I not that the Bills were like at the stakes, so it's a terrible example. Meaning, like, Josh Allen made the Bills matter. They didn't matter that much to me before Josh Allen. He has had excuses. I don't know what this main thing is. I think it's the chaos that's been around the franchise, and I think now that that Harbaugh brings some level of like repetitive goal, like he's there now. I think it will start showing up. We'll start talking about Herbert. Like,
okay. Yeah. I mean,
but it might add to the QB 13 missed. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. Fair. Insofar as it applies to this week's game, it raises the question of, was Stroud going to do all of that without a lot of help?
Right.
That's the, and I don't think we definitively know the answer to that question. I mean, I remember the Texans and Chiefs playing in Kansas City less than a month ago, maybe a little more than a month ago. I don't know. It was, about a month ago.
Yeah.
And that's the Tank Dell game. He makes the great catch. He hurts himself really badly and Stroud's in tears, and that's the end of the receiving core, all that. But that's a very close game at half, and Texans have a chance in the fourth quarter, but don't, because that's Mahomes and because teams tend not to against the Chiefs. Right. I think the line for that game was 3, Chiefs 3.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
Maybe 3.5.
That was that series of weird Chiefs lines too. Yeah.
It was, in fact, that's a great point because it was exactly the end of it. It was the beginning of the Chiefs starting to take things seriously and starting to cover and starting to be a little more definitive in their victories, as opposed to when they were playing maybe somewhat hurt, especially on defense, but also just bored.
Playing with their food, as you'd say, right?
Right. So this game, after the regular season game opens at 3.5. This game opens at 7.5, and then goes to 8.5.
Yeah.
So as of our recording this, it's at 8.5. So I got to tell you that if this is another regular season game, if these are division rivals and they're playing for a second time, I'm on Houston like whatever on whatever.
Right.
And it's not one of those. And I think the reason the line opens like this is, and then moves the way it's moving, is because people go, yeah, it's because playoff football's different. And I think the Chiefs will be paying attention and probably put one on Houston. And I think whereas I would think it's too many points in a regular season game, I'm just going to trust that probably Kansas City blows them the hell out.
Yeah, I was tempted. I had this at -8, right? So I'm tempted to go with the Chiefs, but I'm going to follow my principles, which I don't really have principles. I mean, I have a principle. I have a principle at my school. I have one principle, okay? And love you, Mr. Lowry. But what I will say is, I'm gonna take these points. I don't want to. I will say, like that, I did look at that game. Like, I didn't watch it, but I went back to look through that game, condensed that first matchup. And they did hang around and they did move the ball, but there was a real difference when it came to making the important decisions. That's what I forgot. It was rewatching that because I was I thought it was pretty close, and then when it was time to do it, it was. And Spags had these different moves. You knew he wasn't showing his full thing either. So that's my. It's the we know what we're doing week.
Yeah, and it's a lot. You're not picking the Texans to win. You're just saying it's a lot of points, and it doesn't make sense in light of what you've seen.
Huge middle. I just think there's a middle where, they're going to be able to, I think, effectively have their game. And I did see them pull away, but I also still feel like it's a thing where the distance isn't. They're going to hang around, but they're going to lose. Yeah.
You know why I think this is a blowout? Because I think every playoff game is going to be a blowout. So Cousin Josh can yell at me.
Yeah.
About how the NBA is a better product and he can't watch these football games. Because I get that text 4 times a weekend now.
I mean,
this is watchable to you? This is your league. This is watchable to you? I'm turning it off.
Josh Allen's ripe for a Pete Rozelle scam. I'm just gonna start texting him and be we're the parody league. Come to us.
All right. We'll get back to the games in just a second. Let me thank DraftKings for continuing to sponsor. If you would like a way that you can say thanks to them and support us and maybe give us a chance to get sponsored by them again next year, if you've never downloaded the DraftKings app and you live in one of the magic states where it's allowed, which really by this point is most of them, just not California. But I'm being told that we have returned. Sorry, live streamers. So I wanted to, again, mention if you make a $5 wager after having signed up as a new DraftKings member, then you'll get $200 in bonus bets put into your account right away. You can spread it around over the course of the weekend and have some fun. Please do play responsibly and don't bet a lot, bet a little bit. It just makes it a little extra spicy, a little fun, a little extra rooting interest. I do $5, $10 a bet. Please do minor bets, but it does make it fun, and it's a great way you can support the show. If you've never done it before, but you've heard me say it a lot of times, yes, I'm specifically talking to you. You can download that DraftKings app. Please sign up using the code HarrisTube. I will also say that we had a repeat winner from this year as the only person who posted a wager in the chat or in the comments who got it right. It was Dixon Carter. Congratulations again to Dixon, who correctly picked the Commanders in exact and direct opposition to my own best bet of last week, which was wrong, although we'll talk about that game because Tampa should have won that game. But Dixon got it right by wagering on the Commanders, so there you go. All right, so back to these games, Jim. The second Saturday game. The second game of the weekend that has a greater than a touchdown spread. Those aforementioned Commanders, they're visiting the red-hot Detroit Lions. I'll just start by saying I don't need a pick or anything like that. I'll start by saying, gosh, do you think Vegas has a way in its mind how they think this game is going to go? The point total for this game is 55.5, which is the largest in any playoff game in the last 5 years.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. They think they know the dome rule is what they do.
I mean, it's fair. You don't have the potential constraint of weather, so that's not going to tamp it down.
It's just a domer. So
it's also the Jared Goff rule. That's fair. That's a fair point. All right. So here's what I want to say about, because again, we're talking Detroit hasn't done anything yet. And so I don't have that much to say about them, but there's lots to say about the Commanders, because they go to Tampa and I still don't really think the Commanders have a defense.
Right.
They're okay, but Marshawn Lattimore got dog walked by Mike Evans, and
he got pulled off the assignment. Yeah.
There's a way that Tampa scores that wins that game by 2 touchdowns, and it involves Baker Mayfield not being Baker Mayfield. It involves just not the center not forgetting the snap count on a 4th down, and Baker Mayfield not fumbling a jet handoff, and they probably win that game. And so my temptation is just to say, of course, this is just a walkover. Of course it is. Of course it's not. It's the Commanders are not ready to be competitive with the Lions. But then I look at what Jaden Daniels keeps doing when he's given chances, and I think to myself, the Lions defense is no great shake, and they're probably going to give him chances. And so I'm left in this weird state where I actually think the Lions' fate in this game comes down to Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, he's really good at football for sure. He does, because he does. I mean, you've mentioned it before. I've known you for a long time. You're not one to just throw out comparisons to players, particularly very special, unique players like Lamar Jackson. But there's these moments where there's a crease, and he does these other things too. He bounds through it. It's like a Peter Pan thing. He has these abilities that are just unique, right? He's transformational, obviously. I saw it in the Eagles game. Saw them twice this year, but the Eagles game that they won, right? Their signature win in the way of getting back into the fray in a way, right? They had some wins. They were getting better, but this is the real signature. But it was still 36-33. It was that kind of game, and that's the game it would have to be. But I think they can get to that kind of game too. That is their signature. And the other thing being, as impressive as the Lions have been in terms of putting together this pass rush, it still is they don't have a verse even, because they don't have Hutchins. But last week, what I'm trying to say is not that it's unimpressive what they did to Sam Darnold. It's just not his signature now. A couple weeks ago, it's not as do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do.
I don't think this is a brand new Lions defense. Is my point. Just because we just saw them do something like that.
No, I mean, that's such a great point that I was not thinking about. How can you not look at the Lions' last game, which we were so impressed by, and not feel a little less impressed by it after Sam Darnold showed his full ass?
And it was fair, because that Minnesota team, we were this team is legitimately good. This is strange that these teams have to battle, have to meet this way after the type of season they had. But at the same time, it bared to be true. All that. The memes came true this time. I'm sorry, but they did. It did. That was a very memey game.
It was a very memey game. I think about that Lions defensive personnel, say the front 7. I mean, Alex Anzalone, what a story! Everybody loves his hair. Speaking of great hair, I can't think of anybody they can even use to spy Jaden Daniels. They don't have that player. They don't have the athlete.
And that's that front Branch 7. Is that's why Branch slipped. Branch is smart and a diagnoser, but he's not going to follow. He's not Derwin James. It's not no.
Right. So, I mean, this is asking an awful lot of a rookie. And if we get to the point where the Lions just do Lions things on offense, which I think we're both assuming they're going to, that 38 points is very much in play, and like you said, it comes down to, okay, can Jaden Daniels just sort of sheer force of will and deep balls to Terry McLaurin, can he keep up? And if he can't, and it winds up being a blowout, no one is going to say, wow, what a bad season. What a waste of a rookie year. He's already, of course. way exceeded anything Justin Herbert's ever done in his life, and a lot of guys. He's been awesome.
Yeah.
So like, it's almost unfair to say that everything on the Saturday night game comes down to whether Daniels just has more magic, and like somehow denigrate him if it doesn't happen, and therefore, his magic is limited.
Set an expectation that shouldn't be there, right?
But that's how I evaluate the game, and I find myself kind of, after I don't know, I find myself believing just a little bit. Again, it's a very big point spread, so maybe all I'm really believing is Daniels' ability to keep it closer than 9.5 points. But I gotta tell you, it wouldn't be the craziest world historic upset to me, even if the Commanders won it completely outright, to see a number one. Like, it would be crazy. It would be crazy. Yeah. But it wouldn't be, I don't know, like Mark Sanchez being the Patriots to me.
Yeah, right. No, I don't feel. I hear that. It's interesting. I like to hear that because I'm an Eagles fan, and we could lose too. So what am I talking about? But my main point is just that. I guess I'm trying to compare like this Bucs defense to the Detroit defense in a sense of the games we just saw. Like, can they pull something off like that? No, they're way different. It's terrible. What I mean by that is that they're somewhat similar in that they piece together their pass rush, but I actually would say Tampa's personnel maybe even a little bit better in the sense of like Winfield and stuff like that. What I'm trying to say is I think you can score with this team. I'm saying the same thing. I don't think the Lions can tamp them down. I think they can clearly win the game. I feel very similar to the Houston-Kansas City game with these two games. Like that, that I don't feel the threat of the outright, but I definitely feel the threat of the middle. Like, I think that's fair.
Well, especially at 9.5. I just personally, as the handicap experts would say, I am not one particularly, but I can't get to this number. That's what they always say, right? Okay. I can't get to this number. It's 9.5, and I don't see a world. Of course, is there a world where Detroit wins by 3 touchdowns? Of course. But play the game 100 times. I don't think it winds up being an average of 9.5 point wins. I think it's less because Jaden Daniels, I'm just that impressed by. Like, I made Tampa my best bet last week, and I talked a lot of X's and O's about how, like, they're going to blitz, and Jaden Daniels hasn't been great against the blitz and hasn't seen a blitz like this. And they blitzed the living hell out of him, and he handled it great.
And he answered it. He did. Yeah. And it's not some, like, guy just trying blitzing out. Like, this Todd Bowles is like, he's like the Nokia, like, old cell phone to the blind Flores. Like, he was doing it alone.
Is he a flip phone? Because I hope not.
No, he's a brick phone. He's definitely just like, you see the number coming. It's like Todd is calling you.
He's a brick phone. All right. That's half the games. Let's go to the chat and do 5 minutes of fantasy for the great folks who are here watching us live. I appreciate you being here. Max, when we had a little bit of a hiccup with the live stream there just for a moment, and Max said in the chat, thanks for resetting the router, Gary, which we'll get to Gary in a moment.
Did our faces freeze too? Can we ask? Were we like
frozen faces?
I love it.
Oh, baby. So for those of you in the chat, do I have to refresh in order to get, do we have new chats, Dave, or any new chats happening?
Okay.
All right, so just basically nobody's asking questions yet, but I just might be a little bit out in front. I see Robert saying go Chargers, which is...
Go Bolts.
It's either late or early, depending on your perspective, to be saying go Chargers. I'm not getting any questions, Dave. Oh, there's one. Victor. Yep. Can Garrett Wilson be elite, or is he just really good?
I'm confirmation biased. I'm going to have to admit this. I have several... dynasty shares of Garrett Wilson. He can be elite. If I'm not in that league, I'm not sure. I think he's really. I think he's in the very great wide receiver too, Bill. So
like can be is always it's an out. You know, it's always a load bearing part of a sentence, and I would say he's not going to be for a while. Because I don't think they're going to have a quarterback for a while. But I think if they had a quarterback, I did a Fantasy Outliers show with Jake Seeley last week on the podcast, and we talked about Garrett Wilson. And so, Victor, if you haven't heard that show, go back and listen. And we talked about him more than we're going to talk about him right now. But one of my conclusions was there really shouldn't be a reason that he's not making plays down the field. His skill set should involve making plays down the field. And I have to believe that that's quarterback related. But I just don't know that that's going to get fixed in any meaningful way. Kirk Cousins isn't going to unlock him, whoever they sign.
Sam Darnold can go back to reunion.
Yeah, I guess. Let's see. Daniel says, isn't Commanders-Lions the only game that wasn't played of these matchups during the regular season? And that actually is correct. Only Commanders-Lions. All the others have analogs from the regular season. We'll talk about the other two in a second. Joe is here. Joe's a in real life friend of mine. He says hello. Bush says, my dynasty team is contending. I have Pearsall, Ayuk, and Juwan Jennings. Assuming Debo is gone, would you be tempted to sell anyone, and which one?
Yeah. Maybe because of the finish. Pearsall probably has some fun helium. I think Juwan Jennings is pretty good, and if they're going to retain him, yeah, he'll
still be under contract. I think we're going to talk about this on the podcast on Thursday. I think Debo's going to be there too. They're going to do a renegotiation of some kind. They've made an awful lot of noise in a time when they didn't have to make an awful lot of noise about how much they wanted to keep Debo.
Sure.
Right after the season. So I actually think he does a renegotiation and will be there just to mess you up even more. Skull says, is this the last we ever hear from Deontay Johnson?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Do you like ever hear from him? He's never called me. And, I mean, I don't think in a meaningful way. Yeah. Guys like this, like there's something going on there beyond football. That's kind of I just think, I don't know if guys like him or something. I don't know what's going on.
He's a loudmouth. He can't shut his mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's zero doubt about it. I just think that's the kind of guy, if he's good, then someone will figure it out.
Sure.
But, I mean, I don't know that it means he's draftable, but just compare that to what I think Cooper Kupp's future is, where he's like the Indiana Jones bad guy, disintegrating in front of our faces.
Yes.
I kind of think there's a better chance Deontay Johnson resurfaces than Cooper Kupp.
Sure.
Not that there's a great chance for either one, to be honest. Destro says, yeah, that was a Deontay Johnson question. Anthony says, I just bought Solo on ETN in Dynasty, and I'm praying for the best. Maybe a head coach and offensive coordinator change, and we can chalk this year up to a bad year.
Yeah, I mean, just bring in, I don't know, who, is there a Lombardi? Is there someone who wants to run it 300 times? I don't know who they're going to get. It sounds weird because Tank's been playing. It's hard to say. Good luck. You bought that's the good part. No, the buying, that part sounds fun. It's a share of something. He has a player who's had something before, but I'm not the biggest Etienne guy, but there's something.
Yeah, I think it's fine to buy Etienne low because he's really young and
it could change. You're right.
He's got one more year, and then he could be somewhere else. And
that's my point. Is this next thing is my more interesting thing?
Yeah, the next thing feels more interesting. But then again, who knows? Who knows about next year? Yeah. Glendon says, "Do you think Jaylen Warren can be an RB1 in Pittsburgh if Najee Harris, the free agent, goes somewhere else?"
I don't know. They never really seemed like they did that. Maybe they were wrong about that, but I don't know. They always seem like they trust one guy at a time. Maybe that seems a trope, but they do. I don't know. Yes, they do. I think RB1 meaning their most important I think
RB.
Yeah.
Then the answer is yes. I mean, I got to be honest. I think the likeliest scenario, because Mike Tomlin's averse to change, is probably Najee Harris signs there, annoyingly, for $2.5 million, because everybody knows he kind of stinks, and then it goes right back to annoying. But if Najee goes somewhere else, we've talked about on the main show. Warren's interesting. Can there be some Chase Brown in him? He's a little smaller, but he's good. He's good. I think yes. I think the answer is he could wind up being. Taco Buddy says, if AJ Brown had been reading Tulsa, would Chris have criticized him for reading during the game? Did I criticize him? I don't think I did.
I don't think so. I mean, it was everyone's like, it's what he does every week. I'm like, no, it's not. Okay. It's a flare. First, somebody had a great preface on Philly radio. They said the preface to that book is how to not kill your quarterback. Okay, so
Joe says, do you consider Mahomes a swing player for next season? And by swing player, in the vernacular of the regular my main show, it's like a guy who we actually don't know one way or the other how it's going to go, but like he's got enough, I guess, variance in his possible range of outcomes that he could swing leagues.
Yeah, sure, because you're going to see him right in the middle, because like there's now going to be this like tax on that I just overpaid for him this year, and he's going to not be in the infinite middle, but he'll be in that middle, like that strange.
Sure, it's where he'll go, but the question is, does he have that upside anymore to do 5,000 yards?
I don't know if these pieces are fun, and this year was a theoretical rebuild. I don't think they ever need to do that. I don't know if he's going to have that year again where he takes the lead over again.
I mean, I think they're just bored by the regular season. So
but it would require some Voltroning, meaning some pieces to all hit. And I don't even know if they need that to happen, but it's not happening so far.
All right. Well, thank you for your questions, and we appreciate it. And let's get back to the Sunday games, or let's start the Sunday games. Let's start with Gary. Get in here, Gary.
Yeah, Gary. Yeah, Gary Bear. Yeah,
here's Gary Bear.
Yeah. Don't
so did you and Gary Bear make up over your refusal to make the Eagles your best bet last weekend?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, can I have some privacy, please? You know what I mean? All right, yeah. I mean, not really. You know what I mean? I mean, I got an Android, so I don't even respond to texts. And I'm mostly just here, you know what I mean? I'm here for the page views, you know what I mean? And honestly, you know what I mean? Go Birds. That's all I'm trying to say. Go Birds. This guy's, he's, I don't even know the word for it. What do you call it? He's the Hippocratic oath. He's a hypocrite. Go Birds.
He's a Hippocratic oath. It's true.
Yeah.
So true. All right. Well, we got the Rams, and this is our opportunity to talk about the Matt Stafford non-intentional grounding, which I'm sorry that if that's a play that they can't fix like by tomorrow, then Patrick Mahomes is never going to get sacked ever again.
You can hey, listen, I was trying to ground it. Okay. Like, I love it.
You could backhand Gary onto the couch right now. It would be a forward pass.
Yeah. Good Delco word. Lateral. Yeah. Lateral.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we're referring to the moment in the Vikings-Rams game where it felt like the Vikings still had a chance and they sacked Stafford. It was obviously a sack, and he's in the grasp of somebody going to the ground, and he backhands a ball 3 feet away from Puka Nacua, and I mean, I guess they had to rule it not a fumble via replay, and then it's not reviewable whether it's grounding on replay, which is just chef's kiss, piece de resistance.
That one guy who was eating a croissant in the meeting was like, but what if? And they were like, shut up. Keep going.
Unreal. Obviously, the Rams benefited from Sam Darnold. If I'm going to say that the Texans win was mostly about Justin Herbert, my God.
Yeah.
I mean, did the Rams offense impress you in any massive way against a good Vikings defense? But it wasn't that impressive an offensive performance for the Rams.
They're put in a terrible spot right away. It was perfect conditions. It was truly like ideal conditions in every way. There still were some times, I suppose, that like Puka, like he still scares.
Early.
Yeah, early, it felt like there was something happening, but then they didn't have to, and they had the ball in all these advantageous situations, and then it took away the ability for what they really have to be, like, because it's not just the philosophy of Flores, it's the reality of that roster, right? That he has to concoct the pressure. Then they were in trouble because now all the pressure has to be so obvious, and then it's just like that is what Stafford eats up. This week will be different than that in the sense also in the sense of it's not a team that's going to blitz and never relied on that. So it's going to be hard to get them out of their style. So that's what's interesting is styles make fights, and we're going to see how this matches up. But it was also just they always look. We talked the commenter wisely noted how we have a precedent for most of these games. The precedent in this one was like it wasn't close. Of all the games, it was the only one where it seemed truly like a different class was set of tiers of we just shouldn't be together in terms of contenders.
I'm not sure I agree with that just because the next game was also a blowout, but Fair. I mean, I still take your point. It was 37-20 Eagles in Los Angeles,
right?
And it wasn't even really that close.
No, yeah.
It was exactly what you'd expect. I think we know how Sean McVay wants to attack a defense that doesn't bring pressure, that plays a lot of zone.
Underneath, yeah.
Theoretically, it should work great because Puka, that's what he does. It's great. I just think, I honestly think the Cooper Kupp's descent into almost total irrelevance is so crippling for this offense, because when you had to pay attention to both of them for that window with 4 games when they were both healthy in the past 2 years, it was really, really hard to stop. I'm thinking of that Patriots game where they didn't blow them out or anything, but that offense just hummed in that game. But sure. Cooper, I had Greg Rosenthal on Blue Sky. We follow each other, and he answered one of my things, one of my skeets on Blue Sky, just saying about Cooper Kupp, like, one lesson that we take away from this playoff game is that Cooper Kupp is just simply not on Sean McVay's radar. And Greg said, yeah, like, word around the league was that Kupp was essentially available for nothing at the trade deadline.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Which is just, I mean,
says everything. Yeah.
It says so much, and it also says to me, like, I think I trust the Eagles to be able to concentrate on Puka and say, okay, Cooper Kupp, if you can beat us, you can beat us.
That's exactly you stole all my notes. No, kidding. But truly, the idea is that one, the after the catch thing is real. It's how you would get through, like, the style that they play, and not to say that that there's some indomitable, like, there's going to be a time when you're going to get through this Eagles defense. I think it's going to be in a later round. Because it's a tackling thing, and I've never really seen this since in a long, long time, an Eagles team that, like, is one of the better tackling teams in the league. It helps to have, like, linebackers playing safety. I mean, like, Cooper DeJean is just a, like, humongous person. It's also really helps, I think, their discipline. They hand off really well. Like, it's a very good community. Like, Vic Fangio does that well in terms of making sure there's a link between the two zones. It would have to be some otherworldly Puka game. I don't see that many pass. It's so narrow because, like you said, he is dust. I hate to say it, but they badly need another stressor. They badly need another way to stress you other than, the run. And I don't know where that surface is, like one of these nameless tight ends. And I know Higbee had a big injury, but even if he was perfectly healthy, that wouldn't represent that threat.
Yeah, I don't see a way. And then Saquon Barkley. I mean, I guess here's the way. The way is some freaky plays that gets the Rams a lead, and Saquon isn't as much of a threat. And Jalen Hurts
has to do stuff.
When the Eagles lose in these playoffs, and I'm sorry to say, I think they will eventually, it's going to be because somebody forces Jalen Hurts to lead drives throwing the ball. And my God.
Yeah. No, he's been bad. There's a lot of regression, whatever you want. I mean, there were times that he did look really good. Those are now looking like, like the isolated run. If I've been mocking, like, which I have, Trevor Lawrence for these, like, stretches of 6 games, and then that defines him. I mean, like, there really was a 6 to 8 game part where he was in a very special looking passer. Not special, but, like, wow, he can win with passing. Other than that, you have to hide it. You have to hide it as best you can. And of course, when you have 300 total yards out of your back, you don't have to expose much else of the game. Last week, I don't know if I've seen a playoff game, not just from an Eagles perspective, of many playoff games where a team won in that fashion, where the quarterback did literally nothing, like not literally, but, like, even the touchdown was a 4 stiff arm touchdown. So, like, I just don't. I would love to see something additive. So the fear that helps open up another path is that he's terrible. I don't know how the Rams make that the case is my problem. Like not my problem, it's their problem. But, like, how do they make it? How do they make it the case? Because, again, it's not a trope that the offensive line with the Eagles. It's a real trend. They continue to be just really tough to get through.
Yeah, there's always a way because there are crazy turnovers and you get a big lead
and
then
the game has a pick 6 or something, right? Yeah,
right. But I'm with you, and, like, I don't see. This is 6. Gary, you laying these 6?
Yeah, dude. First of all, I had a bet in Acapulco in November of 2022. I spent 14 points on this game. I predicted it. Go Birds. I got this. I'm gonna parlay it with some WNBA futures. All right.
Can I get the fake Stafford lateral onto the couch?
Yeah, boom, 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 boom. All right. Yeah, all right. Yeah, ref, thank you.
Ref.
Yeah, they're butts.
All right, Let's do the nightcap. Let's do the one we're all here for. If I think there's a non-zero chance that we're going to get 3 crap games, and then we get this 4th one, which was I was referring to it before when the Bills visited the Ravens very early in the season.
Yes,
that was a crap game. I mean,
was
Baltimore crushed them pretty bad, and that was when their defense wasn't good.
Right.
I will also say I don't necessarily need to talk about the spread here yet because I want to talk about the football part of it.
Sure.
But an interesting perceptual thing in the world is that the Bills started this game as a 1.5 point favorite at home. And within less than a day, the Ravens were 1.5 point favorite on the road.
Wow.
Which I think probably what that tells you is that people were like really, really, really impressed and scared by the first, like, waking up and everybody watching Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson together.
Yeah. Yeah, like we think everybody's watching it, but yeah, that was the national crowd. Everybody truly seeing it in an island game. Even with Pittsburgh being in the free fall, it's just, that was like a rock star playing the hits type of performance. And again, the public, I'm in the public. It's crazy. I talk about the public like I'm not in it. Like, hey guys, I'm with you guys. I'm in that street scene, but at the same time, it's one of the times where like, it feels also like merited, like the pivot, not just talk about the line thing, but the idea that like it does feel like that if any of these teams, like of all these teams, if it feels like somebody's like feels like they're congealing or putting it together. Now, of course, there's the Zay Flowers angle, but it just feels like they really know who they are. Like of all the continuity things, of all the things in the league, this is the team that kind of knows who they are. Other than the Super Bowl champions. So
sure, but I think the Bills know who they are too. I mean,
they do. They do. You're right.
I trust.
I just said like an NFL Network saying, and you called me out for it. So.
I trust the Ravens defense more than I trust the Bills defense.
Mm-hmm.
I actually trust Josh Allen to like come back from 3 touchdowns more than I trust Lamar Jackson.
Okay. Yeah.
Even though I think Lamar's amazing, but like from a pure go crazy as a gunslinger like thing, and that's Josh Allen's thing. I'll tell you, I just make this game as kind of even. I don't really see a huge. So I think we've said a lot on this show that you can run on the Bills, and it's probably true. I kind of think you could throw on the Ravens. Like I mean, maybe that's going to wind up being wrong. Like against Denver last week, Buffalo didn't really put them away into the second half. That should have been a 10-10 game at the half if you don't get a doink right at the end of the half.
Right.
And God knows that in the second half it wasn't close and it didn't feel like Denver ever had a chance. But that feels like that was mostly because here's Buffalo still trying to run it. Yep, still trying to run it. Yep, still trying to run it. And I actually kind of think that that's in preparation for this game. I think this is like a 51.5. So another very high total.
Yeah.
And like I would go, the thing I probably like best here is the under, which is weird because they're two incredibly explosive offenses and it could be 41-40, but I think Buffalo's going to see that they're going to get run on and they're probably going to get scored on, but they're just going to try to have the ball for 38 minutes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, of course you do have a rock star yourself. Like, and I keep saying that, but I mean, the idea that Josh Allen can just like make almost any situation possible, but also that your opponent can do that too. They can do more things. The styles make fights things. The Ravens can fit more styles, I think. I think the Bills in this situation do sit on the ball, do try to choke it out. The thing is, I think you talked about like there not being a spy for Jayden Daniels. Like, not that he's a spy, but I think Roquan Smith and like Josh Allen are going to meet each other a lot on Sunday. And I think he's like, meaning the running is real. He is a truck, but I don't know, man. I think
Lamar doesn't have anybody who's going to.
That's the thing. I think the mismatch, but like, I know Milano's back and Ed Oliver's been playing great, but like, again, like even when they invested in Ed Oliver and they continued to like, when they committed to him on a second contract, like they signed up for like a 290-pound tackle to be like the centerpiece of their defense. And it's going to show in the run game at times, unless you have some incredible like linebackers, so yeah, it's a personnel thing to me. It's a personnel thing to me in the sense that like, I think you can hammer on them and like the Ravens are not going to go away from that part of their identity.
You have a more solid, admirable take than I do on this game. I'm all over the map. I can tell you think Baltimore's going to win this game. Mm-hmm. And I just keep going back to, how did they lose to the Raiders? How did they lose? How did they lose games this year? And that offense, that team, Lamar himself, always feels so inevitable until he hits the game where he's just not. Right, and last year was the AFC Championship game where
they funk games.
And I'm a little worried. This is one of those because Josh Allen's really good. I don't know. You might be I don't know. I actually feel stronger maybe about the under than any actual side here. Mm-hmm.
Stylistically, I like it too. I mean, I didn't look at. I really was looking at but in terms of the outcomes that I think are going to happen if you laid them out. I think the fight, the more AFC Northy type game is going to come out of this, in the battle sense. That's a terrible way to say it because the Bengals and Browns are terrible. Can't play defense. Identity-wise,
I agree.
That stylistically, this is going to feel more like that. But it doesn't mean it can't change it. Both of these players can change the tone of the game very quickly. I just think Baltimore has a better ability to make them play their song, make them play, let's play power football, but let's do it quickly. And the Bills aren't going to want to do that. So it'll be how effectively can the Bills just keep them off the field?
Long drives. Yeah. That really is for me the question. And they can. I mean, James Cook's been really good. That offensive line has played pretty well. Which offensive line is better in this game? I think they're both good. I don't really think either one stands out as being unbelievably, inevitable. They're not the Eagles, but they're not bad.
It's super fun though because both.
It's a fun game.
Talking about the uniqueness of Lamar. I mean, the other guy can take a 4-yard shotgun snap and just run at you. What was that?
Yeah, he can, but he can also, that fourth down play that everybody's talking about where. He holds it for 7 seconds or whatever it is and just avoids. I mean, Lamar can do that too, but the point is both guys can do it. It's it's the game of the weekend. It's why it's the fourth game. It's the one everybody wants to see.
Caliber game, yeah.
It really is. It is an AFC Championship game type game. And there's one for the winner. There's another AFC Championship type game to go through. Do you think the absence of Zay Flowers influences anything in this game?
Yeah, I mean... It could show up.
I should just say, as of our recording this, we don't know that he's not playing, but I'm kind of assuming at this point.
Yeah, I think some of just to take a bait reporting, the goal, it seems like their goal is to maybe get him ready for later if that's possible. But I do think it matters. I do, especially if the Bills have more of a say. I mean, if the Bills somehow take some lead, like that you said. You mentioned that that maybe Lamar doesn't have that in his recipe as much, that crazy comeback. Well, that's even more pronounced when you don't have the dynamic make the magic guy, because they don't have that many of those guys. They have a lot of Baltimore Ravens guys again. They have a lot of four Nelson Aguilars. I don't know how.
Yeah, they do. They cloned him. They put some of them in a Rashad Bateman uniform and some of them in Isaiah Likely uniform. Yeah,
that's a trademark thing. Yeah.
So, all right. I mean, we have to make a pick. Just because it's the rules of the show. It is Ravens home -1.5. Are you going Ravens?
I mean, you meant I'm giving. Road. I'm giving the points.
You're giving those points. Yeah. I guess I'll take them because I think it should be an even money game. I don't particularly recommend playing it, to be honest. I would play the under before I would play the total. I mean, I would play the total before I would play the spread. Yeah. But what do all of you think? If you're watching in the chat, do you have a favorite among these four that's the best bet of the week for you? If you're watching after the fact, down in the comments. We don't get enough down in the comments. If you're watching, what the hell? Just say which one of these four spreads you think is the best bet, and we'll shout someone out next week. I'm going to do this live because I haven't picked out of my four. Do you have a best bet for this week, Jim?
Go Birds. Yeah, go Birds. Seriously though, honestly, I can't take myself out of myself, but even if I wasn't myself, I would pick the Eagles.
Eagles -6.5.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Eagles -6.5. That's the one. I mean -6. Sorry, not 6.5.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm gonna be on as well. I could see my way through to doing the Chiefs also because I just think eventually
just roll. Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be a close game. I got to be honest, and I don't feel awesome about the Commanders, and I sure don't have a great feel about the Ravens game. So These lines are generally going to be pretty sharp because there's going to be 4 times as much money on them. Makes sense. They get pretty sharp. But we'll both be on the Eagles -6. I want to thank Dave for producing and for being a great firefighter in the middle when we had a little bit of a hiccup. Mm-hmm. And I want to thank the sponsor, DraftKings. Again, if you want to help do us a favor, you've never downloaded the DraftKings app, it really does help if you sign up using the code HarrisTube. Make one $5 bet, you'll get $200 in bonus bets put into your account right away to mess around with. I want to thank all the lovely, wonderful people in the chat who I saw were mustering themselves to issue a whole bunch of likes right in the middle of the video. So we had all these hearts flying in the middle of the video, which is so lovely. We do appreciate you. Love you very much for being here. It was really fun to do this for you. And thanks to all the podcast folks for listening as well. I do like hearing from you, and I like how much you like the show. I hope you enjoy these divisional round games. It's one of the most fun weeks of football of the entire year. And we'll talk about the fallout and what we see for the conference championship games next week. Until then, be safe. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you later.